For a lot of entrepreneurs, business is a nightmare. They leave their job, they start a business hoping that this is going to be the key to their financial freedom, only to find out that they have traded their job for a ride on the struggle bus. Well, in this video today, I'm going to teach you how to build your dream business. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about. We're going to read a passage from Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes is the book that was written by King Solomon, the wisest, wealthiest man who ever lived. And King Solomon wrote the book of Proverbs. He wrote the book of Songs of Solomon. He wrote the book of Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes is the book that Solomon wrote at the end of his life. At the beginning of Solomon's life, he was totally yielded to God and just wanted to serve God, please God and serve people. In the middle of his life, I think he probably read too much of his own press and started to believe in his own greatness. And he fell away from the Lord and just started marrying like pagan women and worshiping false gods and just doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Like something you wouldn't think of a wise person would do. So he goes from being the wise man to being the wise fool, right? And then at the end of his life, he realized how he had messed up, and he came to his senses, and he wrote the book of Ecclesiastes to warn all of the other people, like us, who would go out and perhaps yield to God and do well in life as a result of that, and then think we did something, warning us about the dangers of living for life under heaven or life under the sun. So you'll see that the theme of the book of Ecclesiastes is life under the sun. This is how life under the sun or life under heaven works. And he basically gives us two warnings about life under heaven or life under the sun. All is vanity and vexation of spirit. Vanity means emptiness. Vexation of spirit means you've tortured yourself. So the theme of the book of Ecclesiastes is this. If you want to understand like what Ecclesiastes is talking about, and you want to understand it in context, you need to understand that Solomon is saying to all of us, if you live your life for life under the sun, you've wasted your life and tortured yourself. Okay? So in the context of how to build a dream business, understand that a dream business is that. It's a dream business, but it ain't everything. It's just everything that it is. But it's not anything that it's not. And so in this passage, in Ecclesiastes chapter 5, starting with verse 1, verses 1, 2, and 3, he says, keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of God, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with thy mouth, and let not thine heart be hasty to utter a thing before God. For God is in heaven and thou upon the earth, therefore let thy words be few. For a dream cometh through a multitude of business, and a fool's voice is known by a multitude of words. And it's so interesting because this passage of scripture is about people who Robert J. Ringer would call the pop-off mess-up man. Right? I don't know if any of you have ever read any of Robert J. Ringer's books. He wrote one, his best book, in my opinion, was $1 Million Habits, which is one of his latest books. But anyway, great book. And the pop-off mess-up man is the person who just shoots off his mouth and messes up the deal, right? And this passage, these three verses are talking about being hyper-intentional with our words and about not speaking before we think, and about not serving up too much word salad. Like, let your words be few. Learn to get to the point. Be concise in your speech. Be clear. Be articulate. Learn to communicate. But in the middle of that, he gives us this little parenthetical statement about business. And he says, a dream cometh through a multitude of business. I believe what he's doing is he's contrasting the difference between getting something done and pontificating about getting something done. And a lot of people attempt to make you believe they are a thing with the words they use, but they ignore the deeds that they do. And so King Solomon said, a dream cometh through a multitude of business. And I don't know if Solomon was thinking about the dream that he had when he wrote this, right? Because if you go read 1 Kings chapter 3, we see that God spoke to Solomon in a dream at Gibeon. And he says, ask what I shall give thee. I don't know if Solomon was thinking about this dream that he had that led to this magnificent life that he had when he wrote this, but he said a dream comes through a multitude of business. And a lot of us, we grow up with these dreams of things we desire to do. You know, oh, I want to be a baseball player. I want to be a football player. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a musician. I want to be an actor. Like when we grow up with all these dreams, these things that we desire to do, or I want to drive this car. I want to live in this neighborhood or this kind of house. And we have all of these big dreams, but all of those big dreams that we have to be paid for, right? And how do we pay for these big dreams? Well, one of the ways we can pay for these big dreams is by having a business. Now, the Bible has a lot to say about business, like a lot to say about business. Seest thou a man diligent in his business? He shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before mean men, right? The Bible has a lot of things to say about business, and that you study to be quiet and to do your own business, working with your hands as we commanded you, that you may walk honestly toward them that are without, and that you may have lack of nothing. The Bible has a lot to say about the concept of business. But in this passage, it says, a dream cometh. Now, a dream, like when we think of a dream, what is another word that we could use to describe something we've been dreaming about? Like, a dream is something we value at a high level in our imagination, isn't it? Isn't that what a dream is? It's like in my mind, I imagine that this is going to be X, Y, Z when I accomplish it. Okay, so in order to build a dream business, and for a lot of people, a dream business is a big business, and by big, I don't mean necessarily a lot of employees, but when I think of a big business, I think of big profits. Okay, like I like the idea of big profits. Why do you like big profits? Because they are faster than small profits, right? So I when I think about like my dream business, it's a business where it's got ultra leverage in that a minimal number of transactions produces a maximum amount of profit, right? So I like that. Now there are a lot of people like Sam Walton, for instance, like Jeff Bezos, like a lot of people who are who have e-com stores, and there's nothing wrong with this business model. They like a lot of small transactions with a little bit of profit. That's fine, because you can, like Sam Walton was the richest man in the world, and his motto was, I never want to make more than 30% margin on my products. So he's like, if a vendor gives me a good deal, I'm going to pass that good deal on to my clients. Okay, cool, right? And so, in order to build a dream business, one of the things you're going to need is you're going to need a big dream, because building a business is too hard just to do it to live an average life. It requires too much work. One of my friends, he gave me the definition of an entrepreneur. He said an entrepreneur is somebody who works 16 hours a day for themselves so they don't have to work 8 hours a day for somebody else. And some of you are entrepreneurs, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And in the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey, that's exactly what it feels like. And for me, sometimes it wasn't 16 hours, it was 24. I was working 24 hours a day sometimes for myself so I didn't have to work for somebody else 8 hours a day. So you need a big dream. And a dream, what do I mean a big dream? Big dream is just something big that you value. And maybe that big dream is going to come from God. Like Solomon's big dream came from God. What if you got your identity from the ultimate identity himself, from God? What if you only believed you are who God says you are, and you ignored all the stuff that people told you aren't your whole life? Wow. You're not smart enough. You're not tall enough. You're not pretty enough. You can't sing good enough. You're not athletic enough. You're not coordinated enough. You're too short. You're too tall. You're too heavy. You're too thin. You're too black. You're too white. You're too this. You're too that. And so you've gone through life resisting people's lack of appreciation for who you are because they only want to emphasize who you're not. Can I get a witness? But instead of just saying, okay, what does God say about me? See, when I can wrap my mind around what God says about me, now, first thing God tells me about me is I'm made in his image. Well, he's pretty awesome. That must mean I'm pretty awesome. Now, God's holy. God's not a sinner. I'm a sinner, so I'm not as awesome as he is, but I'm more awesome than a cat or a bird or a snake or a dog or a chimpanzee or a gorilla. I'm more awesome than them. Why? Because I'm a man. I'm a person. When I say man, I'm talking about human man. I'm talking about Adam man. I'm not talking about Ish man. In Hebrew, there are two words for man. There's Adam, which is men and women, boys and girls, humans. God called their name Adam. Adam later called her name Eve. God called their name Adam. And then there's Ish man, and Ish is a male, and Isha is a female. Interesting fact. We've all heard the word British, but do you know what the word British means? The English people were delusional enough to believe, at some point in their delusion, that they were replacing Israel as God's chosen people. And so the word Brit means covenant, and the word Ish means man. So the word British means covenant man. So, little side note that might help you win on Jeopardy, but it probably won't do anything else for you except make you think about the delusion of British people when you think about the word British. Okay, so maybe your dream comes from God. Maybe what you value in your imagination, you value in your imagination because of something that God said in his word. See, like, I get it. I'm not perfect, but I'm still awesome. I get it. You're not perfect, but you're still awesome. Like, I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated. When I'm walking down the street, or I'm walking, I was going to say through the mall, but I don't really generally do that. I've done it before, but it's like, but if I'm walking somewhere and I walk past another human being, and they do everything in their power not to look at you so they don't have to acknowledge you. I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated. Like, how can a human being who's made in the image of God walk past another human being who's made in the image of God and not acknowledge the God likeness in that person? You're not ignoring the person. You're ignoring the God likeness in the person. You're not just ignoring the person, but I'm bashful. Oh, so now it's about you. Are y'all tracking? So I've got a neighbor. This dude will run in the house and close the garage door to keep from waving. It's just crazy. Like, bro, your arm ain't gonna break, bro. It's crazy. It's so like him and his wife. Like, they'll be walking down the street and they'll walk past your house and the garage door open. You say hi. They're like, hi, and it's like, dude, it ain't that deep. Okay. Anyway, a big dream. You want to build a dream business? You need a big dream. You need a dream that's bigger than I just want to make money. Maybe your dream needs to be so that you can qualify before God as a good man who leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Maybe your dream is that you want to be able to take care of your aging parents so that the scripture doesn't say about you that he provides not for his own, especially those in his own, he's denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. You want to take care of your aging parents, or maybe your aging in-laws. Or maybe you don't like your in-laws and you just want to make enough money and then not. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm just kidding. I love my in-laws. So. Okay, so maybe you want to take care of your aging parents or your aging in-laws. Maybe your big dream came from God. Maybe your big dream just came from a dream about your future, a compelling future. So I know for me, I shouldn't say just, but I enjoy good experiences. And I know that sounds like like everybody enjoys good experiences. Yeah, but everybody's not obsessive about it. Like, I'm obsessive about having good experiences. Wondering, like, what kind of good experiences? All kinds. Like, any experience I have, I want it to be a good experience. And anything that puts hassle into the experience, removes from the goodness of the experience for me. Like, I believe I only get to do this thing called life one time. So, if I go to a restaurant and the customer service is bad at the beginning, and it gets worse progressively by the minute, and then everybody's ordering, nah, I'm not gonna order anything. No, order something. No, I'm not gonna order anything. I'll wait and go home and eat. Or go to a different restaurant and eat. I'll hang out with the people I'm hanging out with. I'm not gonna cause a scene. I'm not gonna be irritated, but guess what else I ain't gonna do? I am not going to waste the only lunch I get this day for my whole life on a bad experience. I'm that guy. So, anyway, and I know I'm a little spoiled, I get it, but what's acceptable to me and what's unacceptable to me are very clear in my mind. And maybe that's because, when I was in A.L. Williams, I used to listen to Art Williams, and he would say, life will give you what you'll fight for, or life will give you what you expect, right? I'm like, okay, well, which one is it? Is it going to give me what I expect, or is it going to give me what I fight for? And the answer is yes. It's either going to give you what you expect, or it's going to give you what you accept, not expect. What you accept, or it's going to give you what you fight for. In other words, if you're not willing to fight for what you desire to have, then anything will do. Okay, so, and maybe your big dream is for your people. Maybe the people that you've been sent to serve. Maybe, like Moses, you just have a vision and a burden for a group of people that you desire to see them set free from the bondage of the lies that they believe. And maybe that's your big dream. Like, if I can just help emancipate some people. You'll get that one on the way home. Right? Because they're slaves in their own minds to the lies that they believe. That's why the scripture says, if you continue my words, then you're my disciples indeed, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Free from what? Free from the lies, the bondage of the lies that you've been believing. Okay, you are tracking. So you need a big dream, and then you got to do big business. So a dream cometh through a multitude of business. So I got this big dream, and maybe your big dream is a nicer house and a nicer neighborhood for your family. Maybe your big dream is a nicer car. Like for a long time in my life, my big dream was a nicer car, right? And a nicer house, right? And so maybe that's your big dream. Maybe it's better vacations. Maybe it's more vacations. When I first got married, you know what our vacation was? We'd get in the car, me and my wife, and kids if we had kids, in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and we would drive to Texas. We'd spend 2 days driving to Texas. We'd spend 10 days with her family, and then we'd come back, drive 2 days coming back, and then we'd go back to work. Well, that ain't what we do for vacation no more. Now we go to Israel for 2 weeks, or we go to Greece, or we go to Hawaii for 10 days at a time, or whatever. Why? Because we can. But so can you. I'm not flexing. Hopefully something I'm saying is inspiring you. You have to, maybe your dream is for your people. I wanted to give my family better vacations than just spending 2 days in the car to drive to visit family members. I love family members, but let's go experience the world. And so if you're going to build a big business, you need to find a big group of people. So find a big group of people who have a big problem. How cool is that? And a willingness to pay to solve that problem. And so I promise you, if your business is not big, one of those things is missing. Either you haven't found a big group of people, big pool of people, or they don't have a big problem. You got a big pool of people, but they don't have a big problem. Or you have a big pool of people with a big problem, but they don't have a willingness to pay to solve it. Everybody don't want to solve their problems. And see, some of you, the reason your business doesn't grow is because you want to solve problems for people that they don't want solved. Because that's their nail. Say, what do you mean that's their nail? Dude's walking down the street, stopped talking to one of his neighbors. He's talking to his neighbor's dog sitting there, laying there on the porch. Dog goes, talks a little while longer, dog does it again. Dude says, what's going on with your dog? Is he sick? No, he ain't sick. He's just laying on a nail. So what do you mean he's laying on a nail? Well, he just laid down on a nail, sticking in him. Well, why didn't he get up? Dude said, I don't know. Maybe it hurts him bad enough to whine about it, but not bad enough to get up and do something about it. And that's how so many people are in life. Their woes just give them something to collect compassion and sympathy. They have no desire to get rid of it, because then why would people feel sorry for me if I got rid of this? Okay, that's too transparent. Okay. Big group of people, big problem, a pocket full of money, or at least a willingness to pay for it, and then the wherewithal to pay for it. They gotta have the ability to pay for it. One of the problems y'all have is you wanna solve problems for people who can't pay you. And the reason you wanna solve problems for those people is because you can remember when you were them. But what you failed to realize is that you didn't go from being them to being you by somebody else fixing that problem for you. You went from being them to being you by figuring out how to fix that problem yourself. And then when you attempt to circumvent that process for them, you're not helping them. You're what I call helping them to harm them. Well, and sometimes you got to hurt people to help them, because if you don't, you're helping them to harm them. And see, hurt is temporary, harm is long term. Okay, y'all are tracking. If you want to build a big business, you need to have a big pool of people. They need to be seeking a big payoff. Now here's what's really cool about people with problems. We all have this thing called a reticular activator system in our brains. And what happens is, if you buy a car of a particular brand, all of a sudden you start noticing that car everywhere. You're like, how come I never saw this car before I bought it? Well, that's how come. Because it wasn't in your reticular activator. Actually, I think it's actually actuator. But what happened was, we become aware. When we have a problem, we become hyper aware of potential solutions in the vicinity. So what's cool is, if you have really figured out an elegant, dynamic, and clear solution for the problems of a big pool of people, and you put it out there, you don't have to go find the pool of people. They will find you. Oh, snap. And you say, yeah, but Myron, I've been putting out content, nobody's following me. That's probably because the content's not good. And it's okay that it's not good. It's okay. Because what you have to do is you have to be bad before you can get good. And you have to be willing to be bad and keep doing it while you're bad in order to get good. And a lot of people are bad, and they say, well, I'm bad. And that's the end of the sentence. That's the end of the paragraph. That's the end of the book. I'm just not good at this. Well, okay, just not good at this. But no human being is just anything, because we are Adam. We are Aleph, Daled, Mem. What does that mean? Aleph is God. Daled, Mem is blood. Everything in our objective is to make the flesh and blood part of us yield to the God part of us. It's to make the God part of us, the spirit man, lead the physical man, and not the other way around. And when we go through life, I'm just this or I'm just that, I can't help it because of this, we're lying to ourselves and we're lying on God. So, people are seeking a big payoff. You want to build a big business? Like, it's really that simple. Well, I'm going to give you a couple more things to do. Number one, you have to learn how to generate leads. You need to have somebody to have a sales conversation with. That person is called a lead, right? Do you realize I can ask you 4 questions, and your answer to those 4 questions, I can guess within $20,000 what your annual revenue is. How many leads are you generating per month? What percentage of those leads are you converting? At what price point? And what else do you sell them? If I know that, I know how much money you're making. Now here's what's cool. Because it's not 40 things. Like, can you remember 40 things? Of course you can remember 40 things. You remember 40 different people's names right now, right? You know more than 40 words. You know more than 40 songs. So you remember 40 things, but it's a little more challenging than 4. Like 4 is like 1, 2, 3, 4. Got it. It's 4. So in guitar, so there's all this theory in music. Like, it's like a lot. And so this past week, I'm studying cycle 3 in music. And so this past weekend, so this guy says, okay, here's what you got to do. You have to memorize all the notes on the guitar fretboard, right? So you memorize all the notes. He said the best way to do that is do one string at a time and then do cycle 3. And cycle 3 is C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, F sharp, B, E, A, D, G. And you find that on every string. You do that on the 6th string. And then you just keep doing it until you can just do it without even thinking about it. Okay, so I can, right? And so when I first started looking at it, I was like, wow, that seems like a lot. And literally, in less than a day, I had C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, F sharp, B, E, A, D, G memorized. And then all of a sudden, I start practicing it. And within, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, I'm like, C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, F sharp, B, E, A, D, G. And I'm like, find it on the, I'm like, it's amazing how when you resolve yourself to do something, instead of resolving that you can't, your brain just keeps opening up new passageways, and then finally you're going to see something that's going to click. Well, it clicked. You say, Myron, what are you saying? I'm saying, like, figure out a way. If you're only generating 10 leads a month, 30 leads a month, 100 leads a month, 300 leads a month, you want to fix your business? Go generate more leads. Create better lead generation offers, generate more leads. If you're converting less than 3% of the leads that you generate, go work on your offer, make your offer better. Like, none of this stuff is hard. If the most premium offer thing you sell to somebody is $1,000, go create a $5,000 or $10,000 offer. Offer it to the people who've already bought your $1,000 offer. Some of them will take it. This is how you build a dream business. Now, as important as building the dream business, you want a big dream. You want to build a big business. Stop being a big talker. It says, for a dream cometh through a multitude of business, and a fool's voice is known by the multitude of words. So, I'm going to give you a Texas colloquialism. Don't be a rancher with a big hat and no cattle. It's amazing to me, one of the main things I see that keep poor people poor is their desire to look rich. So people are spending money that they could be investing on things that make them look like they have something that they'll never have because they're too busy attempting to look like they have it. Because they feel the need to have somebody think something about them that they already know isn't true. Just let it be what it is. And whatever that is, it's okay. Okay, y'all track it. Don't let your words make you like a rancher with a big hat and no cattle, but don't let your words make you like a broken tooth and a foot out of joint. What does that mean? The scripture says confidence in an unfaithful man in time of trouble is like a broken tooth and a foot out of joint. What does that mean? They're useless. A person who doesn't keep their word is useless. Okay. And then lastly, keep your word to yourself so that you can keep your word to other people. Number one cause of lack of confidence. Number one cause of lack of confidence is breaking your word to yourself. You let yourself off the hook and you believe your excuse matters. But it doesn't matter. Don't let it matter to you. You are the only person in the world who's heard every lie you've ever told. Facts. Stop breaking your word to yourself. Because when you say you're going to do something and then you don't do it, you remember that you didn't do it. And so you portray and telegraph that lack of confidence the next time you tell somebody you're going to do something. Because people don't see us through their eyes. People see us through our eyes. If we learn to keep our word to ourselves, we will learn to look at ourselves differently. And when we learn to look at ourselves differently, we will see something different than we've been seeing. And that is how you build your dream business. Hope it helps. Stay blessed by the best. We'll see you in the next video.